Well, good afternoon, Michiganders. It is Tuesday, February 15, 2022. And of course, this is Tuesday with Tom, Michigan's only weekly internet show where we answer your questions about estate settlement and estate planning in Michigan, and we don't send you a bill. I'm your host, Tom Doyle, estate planning attorney, lifelong Michigan resident, and ambassador for all things good in this great state of Michigan. Welcome to today's program. Well, just a brief recap. Last week's episode, doesn't my will or trust override a beneficiary designation? Important for you to know that. Oftentimes, clients, when they put together their wills or their trusts, they've already put beneficiaries, for example, on life insurance or bank accounts or perhaps TODs or PODs on their accounts, and they don't realize that the distribution provision of their will or their trust does not override that beneficiary designation. So if you've used beneficiary designations, I encourage you to listen to last week's episode. Today's episode, though, somebody had asked me about this recently, and I thought it would be a good time to talk about it again. I know I did years ago on the program, but the question is, can someone sell your home without you knowing it? But please remember, what I'm about to discuss is, as always, for educational purposes only. It is not intended to be legal advice. You need to work with your attorney to determine what is appropriate for you relative to your home or your estate plan. Can someone sell your home without you knowing it? Well, that's an important question that you need to have an answer to, because for most of you out there, your home might well be the most significant asset that you own. And if somebody could sell your house without you knowing it, that could have devastating consequences to you. Well, in 2008, the last that I saw this anyhow, the FBI identified what they called house stealing as the latest scam on the block. And it's only grown since that time, this concept of house stealing. And there's really, I guess, two parts to this house stealing. One is what they call title fraud. And what is that? Well, title fraud is where somebody obtains a copy of the deed to your home, and then they fraudulently transfer the home to themselves. So they get a copy of the deed that you've had recorded with the registered deeds office. They have a new deed prepared. They fraudulently execute that deed, fraudulently have it notarized, and then they go ahead and record that deed with the Register of Deeds office. Now, it's become easier to do that in today's world when so many Register of Deeds have their deeds available online. You can simply go online, do a search for an address or a name, and come with it and get a copy of the deed to the property. Why? Because that's public information that's out there at the Register of Deeds office. Also, in many Register of Deeds now, you can record the deed online. So the person stealing your home who goes and gets a copy of the deed online has a fraudulent deed prepared, executed, fraudulently had it notarized, doesn't even have to go into the Register of Deeds office to record it. They can simply have it recorded online with many of the Register of Deeds office. So technology that we're all using today certainly has pluses to it, but there are concerns and downsides to that technology. And think about this. If somebody prepared a deed to your home, executed that deed, sent that deed off and had it recorded with the Register of Deeds office, you're probably not even going to know that happened until you decide to sell your home. So now you want to sell your home, and the title work comes back and shows that you don't own the home. The second part of this house stealing, though, is this. Most of the time, the person who's going to commit title fraud, they really don't want to own your home. What they want is to take out the equity in your home. What does that mean? Well, once they own it, once they have a deed prepared and they have that deed recorded, now they want to go and take out a mortgage on your home. Going to go to a bank, going to take out a mortgage and basically suck out the equity that's in your home. It might be a traditional mortgage, or perhaps it's going to be a home equity loan. But again, they don't really want your home. They just want the money from your home. Because if they get your home, it doesn't do them any good unless they ultimately want to sell it. And that's not really what they're interested. They're interested in the money. And so if they can take out the equity that's in your home by taking out a mortgage against your home or a home equity loan against your home, they've accomplished what they wanted. And think about that. You're not even going to know that happened probably until the mortgage doesn't get paid, because obviously the person who committed the fraud isn't going to pay the mortgage. And now there's going to be a sheriff's sale on the home. You're not even going to know about the sheriff's sale because you don't show as the registered owner of the home anymore. It's not like when a sheriff's sale occurs, they go back and notify the previous owners. They're only notifying the current owner that has the mortgage. And so you, in all likelihood, won't even know this has happened until the sheriff comes knocking on your door, or you get a notice from the sheriff that the home has been sold. So, what can you do about it? How can you keep someone from selling your home without you knowing it? Well, a few things you're going to ask. Well, Tom, when I bought my home, I obtained title insurance. Doesn't the title insurance policy that I paid for, or that the seller paid for when I bought my home, cover it? No. Why? Because title insurance only assures you as the buyer that the person who sold the home to you has legal authority to sell, to transfer good title. It does not do anything going forward to notify you that someone else is selling the house or protect you from any sort of title fraud or home equity theft. Well, maybe you have some sort of a theft prevention service. You see those advertised online. The guy used to put his Social Security on the side of a semi-truck, apparently until he had problems where somebody actually did scam him to prove that it could be done. But no, that sort of identity theft protection service in and of itself doesn't normally protect you, because that service first is based upon your Social Security number. That's how they know it. That's how the service knows to go out and check and register, so that if there's anything done with your Social Security number, they're going to know about it and you're going to know about it. But guess what? You don't need a Social Security number in order to have a deed recorded. In fact, you're not going to find, or you shouldn't find, your Social Security anywhere on the deed that was done. So the thief doesn't need your Social Security number, and so your identity theft prevention service is not going to protect you from that. Well, third, what about the register of deeds? They're the ones where I recorded my deeds. They're the ones where this fraudulent deed is now getting recorded. Doesn't the register of deeds prevent the fraud? Well, no. Why? Because the register of deeds is legally obligated to record a document as long as it's filled out correctly, as long as it's submitted correctly, as long as they pay the fee. They are legally obligated to file the document. The Register of Deeds is not in the business of assuring that the document isn't fraudulent in that sense. They simply look at it, it meets the parameters, it was executed, it was notarized, there's a fee being paid. things match up with the registered deeds office. The seller's name is the same as the previous deed that was prepared, so they're simply going to go ahead and record it. They do not have the responsibility to verify the validity of the document. And again, think about what I said earlier. Today, many of the registered deeds offices, these deeds get recorded online. So they're never even looking at anything that's coming in. It's simply being done electronically. So no, the registered deeds isn't there to prevent the fraud. Well, that raises this question. Are there services out there? And that's what I frequently get asked about. Are there services out there that I can pay that will prevent this from happening? Well, there are services out there. Now, whether or not they're going to prevent it from happening, in large part, depends, quite frankly, upon the service and what they're really doing. But there are a number of them out there. And I'm not here to advocate or diss anyone in particular, but I know if you do a search online for title protection services, you're going to come up with, I know there's one called Home Title Lock. I believe they charge, $19.95 a month, and what they claim to do is they periodically will check your title and see if something has happened with that title. Has someone recorded a new deed? At least with a service like that, you should know that something has happened to your title well before you go to sell it, and hopefully well before any sort of mortgage or home equity loan goes in default. But it's really not preventing the fraud in the first place. It's alerting you to the fraud so that you can take action to try and do something about it before you have another problem. There's also, I think, came across a company called HomeLock, similar kind of concept. They have a yearly fee. I think it's $99 a year. So yes, there are these services out there, and a growing number of them available on the internet that you can use. But think about that. If all they are doing is periodically going out and checking with the registered deeds office, there still could be a gap depending upon how frequently they check. There still could be a time gap in which somebody manages to get title to your home, manages to take out a mortgage, manages to take out a home equity loan, manages to get the money, and you don't even know that it happened. And now you're still stuck with, yes, you know about it, but how are you going to undo it all? But what can you do? What can you do to try and prevent title fraud? Well, one, you yourself. If you live in a county where the registered deeds records are online, you can periodically go in and check, run a search on the registered deeds office, search for your name, see if anything has been done relative to that property yourself. Some of the registered deeds office, the search is going to be free. Some of them are going to have a modest fee, but you could do that yourself. Another thing that you could do, what you're obviously looking for when you do that search is, you're looking for deeds that came up after your deed, a deed that you didn't sign, or loans that you didn't take out. Obviously, if there's a mortgage being put on the property, it has to be recorded with the registered deeds office. Same thing with a home equity loan. So what you're doing is you're looking for activity reflected in the registered deeds office records that would clue you into the fact that something has been done relative to your property. But even better than that, many of the counties now are providing a consumer notification type service. And I know Ingham County Registry of Deeds is one of them. I believe they call it their Property Fraud Alert. And the way that service is supposed to work is that you will receive an email or a text notifying you anytime that a document is recorded on your property. So it's automated. It's not somebody has to go and do a search and see if something was done. So much of this technology obviously is all computer driven today. And so as I understand the way that the England County Register of Deeds service works, and other register of deeds use the same or similar services, once you register with the service, the computer is basically generating an email or a notice to you whenever there's something recorded on your property, meaning you'll know it perhaps much sooner than you would if you're periodically going out and searching. You would know it perhaps much sooner than any of the services that profess to be tracking and securing the title to the property for you. So you can do that. I would encourage you, whatever county you're in, check with your Register of Deeds office, see if that service is available for you, and if so, look at signing up for it so that you can at least rest assured knowing you will know. Because at the end, you're not really stopping the title from being transferred beforehand, but at least you're being alerted to it sooner rather than later. If you knew today, if you received a text alert today that somebody had signed and filed a deed on your property, you can likely then respond to that sooner than they would then be able to go get a mortgage or a home equity loan and be able to take the equity out on your home. If you have vacant property, go check it periodically. Take a look at it. Does it look like someone's building a house there? I mean, that's what happens sometimes, right? Someone, and they're not necessarily, those folks aren't looking for the equity, but they're getting the title to the lot, and then they're building a house, and then they're selling the house, and lo and behold, you would know that if you had simply visited the property. And the other key, if you think about it, normally when you own property, you're going to receive at least semi-annually, at least in Michigan, your tax assessment statement. You might be receiving a water bill from the local service that provides water to the home. If those bills stop coming, if you're not getting your tax assessment bill, why is that? Well, that would be because, in all likelihood, somebody has changed the title to the property. That change gets reflected at the assessor's office, and so now your tax bill is going another location. So watch for bills that stop coming. Know what bills normally come relative to your property and watch for them. And if they stop coming, that is also something that's going to key you into that you need to check into it further. So what do you do? What do you do if you discover the fraud? If you get the notice from the Register of Deeds office or from one of these companies that profess to lock it down for you, or you discover it on your own? Well, the first thing you need to do, notify the Register of Deeds office so that they can note it. Hopefully they can flag it in their file to know that there's a concern relative to that title, to that property, and at the same time contact law enforcement, because it's a crime. If someone steals the title to your home, that's a crime. So you notify the Register of Deeds office so they know about it, so hopefully nothing further happens. For example, if they've gotten the title but they haven't gotten a mortgage yet, hopefully the Register of Deeds office can flag things so that they won't be able to get that mortgage. But also, you then need to notify your local law enforcement as well. And contact an attorney who can work you through the process that's now going to be required to fix it. And depending upon how far along the things are, what all's been done, have they put a mortgage on it, have they taken equity out of it, all these things need to be addressed on how do you get back to the point of you having clear title to your property. So, question, can someone sell your home without you knowing it? Short answer is yes, but there are things that you can do, there are steps that you can take to minimize the consequences that would occur to you. Well, that's going to be it for today's show, but as always, a reminder, first, Amanda and I would be honored to have the opportunity to help you protect your loved ones by putting together your estate plan, or perhaps amending a plan that you already have, even if it was prepared by somebody else, or assist you in settling a loved one's estate. So if you're interested in any of our services, simply go over to our website, that's doylelawpc.com. Click on the virtual office, and there you're going to find information on how it is that you can go about setting up an appointment, getting more information from us, downloading a copy of our workbook, etc., so that we can be in a position to consult with you and help determine what should be done relative to your estate plan or in settling a loved one's estate. Again, if you're a current client too, remember too that at the virtual office we have our Update My Plan service where you can request, since you're already a client of ours, updates to be done to your plan, and it discusses that process there. And of course, gives you the ability again to schedule a Zoom or telephone consultation with us. And perhaps you're just interested in one document. Maybe, and it's pretty frequently today, maybe you need a certificate of trust. Maybe you're selling real estate and the title company has now said, you know what, you need an updated certificate of trust for purposes of the closing. Well, just go over to the legal store. Again, that's at the website, doylelawpc.com. Click on the legal store, and there you're going to find information about how you can order individual documents online as well. Remember, too, if you have a question about the program or a comment, or maybe you've got a topic that you'd like to have me discuss, well, please send me an email, tom@tuesdaywithtom.com, or mail me a postcard, Tom Doyle, P.O. Box 16066, Lansing, Michigan, 48901. And as always, please follow us on Facebook and Twitter. That's at Tuesday with Tom. And the law office as well, Doyle Law PC, and encourage your friends and families to do as well. Remember, too, that the program's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, perhaps everywhere or anywhere that you regularly listen to your podcast, you're going to find Tuesday with Tom. But if there's a service that you use, let me just say this to you, if there's a service that you use regularly and we're not on it, let me know that. And I'll see what we need to do to get the podcast on that service since you're already using it. Of course, finally, you can always ask your smart speaker to play Tuesday with Tom. Well, thank you again for spending some of your time with us today. As always, I hope that you have an awesome day and an awesome week in Michigan. Stay safe. Tuesday with Tom has been brought to you by the estate planning attorneys at Doyle Law PC. To learn how we can help you with your estate plan or with settling a loved one's estate, please call us today at 517-323-7366. That's 517-323-7366.